We know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. Life doesn't always follow the script we plan. There are times when we find ourselves facing situations that seem unfair, painful, or meaningless. Have you ever asked yourself, why am I going through this? This question echoes in the hearts of many, especially when circumstances are beyond our control. Imagine a young woman named Anna. She had always dreamed of becoming a doctor, dedicating years of study, sacrificing sleep, and investing everything she had to achieve her goal. However, after graduating, she faced a series of closed doors, job rejections, frustrating selection processes, and to make matters worse, a health crisis that temporarily sidelined her career. Anna found herself questioning, why is this happening to me? I did everything right. Why does it seem like nothing is working out? Like Anna, many of us have felt lost in the midst of storms we didn't choose to face. There are times when life seems to lead us down difficult paths, filled with uncertainties and challenges that make us question the meaning of everything. But even when we feel alone and helpless, there is a truth that needs to be remembered. God knows. He knows exactly what you are going through, every tear that falls, every pain that seems unbearable, and every thought that inhabits your heart. He knows every detail of your story, from the brightest moments to the darkest ones, and nothing escapes his care. More than that, he is in control. Even when everything around us seems to crumble, when circumstances are beyond our understanding, God continues to sustain all things with his powerful hand. He doesn't just watch from afar, but is actively involved in our journey, working all things for our good. Even when we can't see the purpose behind the difficulties, the storm may seem too big, but the God who calms the winds and the waves is by your side, ready to guide you to tranquility. Therefore, if you feel overwhelmed today, remember that you are not alone. God not only knows your struggle, but is also working in your favor. Trust in him, for he is faithful and never abandons those who seek him with their hearts. The storm will pass, and in the end, you will see that he was with you every step of the way. When we look at the Bible, we find countless examples of people who also questioned their paths. Joseph, for example, was sold into slavery by his own brothers, spent years in prison for a crime he didn't commit, and yet, at the right time, God raised him to a position of authority to save many lives, including that of his own family who betrayed him. Joseph could have questioned, why am I going through this? But in the end, he understood that it was all part of a larger plan. Perhaps you are facing a financial crisis, a strained relationship, an illness, or even a feeling of emptiness that you cannot explain. These situations may seem random, but they are not. God does not waste any experience in our lives. He uses each one to shape us, strengthen us, and prepare us for what is to come. Think of a potter. He takes the clay and begins to mold it, but for the piece to take shape, he needs to apply pressure, turn the wheel, and sometimes even start over. The clay does not understand the process, but the potter knows exactly what he is doing. Similarly, God is shaping you. He sees the whole picture, even when you only see a fragment. In an instant world, where we want quick answers and instant solutions, it is difficult to accept that some questions will not be answered immediately. But faith invites us to trust, even when we do not understand. After all, if we could understand everything, we would not need faith. A few years ago, a man named Carlos lost the job that supported his family. He felt humiliated, incapable, and questioned why God had allowed that to happen. However, during the period of unemployment, he grew closer to his family, discovered talents he didn't even know he had, and eventually opened his own business, which is now thriving. Carlos did not understand the why at that moment, but today he sees that that difficulty was a stepping stone to something greater. It is important to remember that God did not promise a life without problems, but He promised to be with us in each one of them. He has not abandoned us. On the contrary, He is working behind the scenes even when we cannot see. Sometimes the why will only be revealed in the future. Other times we may never fully understand it in this life. But one thing is certain: God does not make mistakes. He is not caught off guard by circumstances. He knows what He is doing, even when we do not. Think of a small child being taken to the doctor to get a vaccine. She cries, struggles, and doesn't understand why her parents allow something so painful to happen. But the parents know that this momentary pain is necessary to protect the child from something worse in the future. Similarly, God allows us to go through certain experiences because He sees what we cannot see. It is natural to question, cry, and even rebel in the midst of difficulties. God is not offended by our questions. He invites us to pour out our hearts before Him, as it is written in Psalm 62:8. Trust in Him at all times, you people. Pour out your hearts to Him, for God is our refuge. But when questioning, do not forget to trust. Trust that He is good, that He loves you, and that He has a purpose in everything He allows in your life. Perhaps you are going through a desert now. Everything around you seems arid and lifeless. But even in the desert, there are lessons to be learned and miracles to be seen. It was in the desert that the people of Israel learned to depend on God, to trust in His provision, and to follow His direction. What if what you are facing today is just a preparation for something greater? What if this difficulty is the seed of a future you cannot even imagine? God does not waste anything, not your tears, nor your struggles, nor your prayers. He is preparing you, strengthening you, and empowering you to fulfill the purpose He has for your life. So, when that deep and unsettling question, "Why am I going through this?" arises in your heart, bringing with it doubts, anxieties, or even a feeling of despair, remember, God knows. He knows exactly what you are feeling, every tear that falls, every moment of weakness, and every sigh of weariness. He knows the depths of your soul, the secrets that you cannot even express in words. He knows what you need, even when you cannot identify those needs yourself. And above all, He knows where you are going, because He has already mapped the path ahead of you. While you still do not see the answer, while the horizon seems dark and uncertain, He invites you to trust. Not a blind or superficial trust, but a firm and deeply rooted trust in the certainty of who He is. He invites you to believe that even when everything seems to crumble, He is in control. Every detail, every circumstance, every moment of pain or waiting is in His hands. He does not just watch from afar. He is actively working in all things, shaping, adjusting, and transforming every situation for your good. It may be difficult to see this now. Perhaps what you are experiencing seems incomprehensible, unfair, or even unbearable. But He asks you to trust that in due time, you will see the beauty of what He is doing. Like a potter who molds the clay, He is creating something unique and wonderful in your life. Every trial, every challenge, every moment of waiting is part of a larger process, which will result in something so great that you cannot even imagine now. So, take a deep breath and give your worries to Him. Let the peace that surpasses all understanding guard your heart and mind. Remember that He not only knows your way, but He Himself is the way. And in the end, you will look back and see how He was with you every step of the way, transforming every tear into triumph and every pain into purpose. And you? What are you facing today that doesn't seem to make sense? How many times do we come across challenges that at the moment leave us confused, anguished, or even discouraged? Situations that seem unfair, painful, or without purpose. But what if, in the future, you look back and realize that each of these experiences was a necessary step to take you to a better place, a place where you became stronger, wiser, and more prepared for what was to come? Could these difficulties, which today seem so overwhelming, actually be opportunities in disguise, opportunities to grow, to learn to trust, to develop resilience, and above all, to strengthen your faith. And how can you trust in God today, even without having all the answers? The truth is that we rarely understand the why of things at the moment they happen. Life is full of mysteries, and we do not always have clarity about the bigger plan. But what if, instead of seeking immediate answers, you simply trusted that there is a greater purpose even if you cannot see it now? Trusted that God is in control, even when everything around you seems chaotic. Trusted that just as a potter molds the clay, He is molding you through these circumstances. And how can you practice this trust today? Perhaps it is through small acts of surrender, such as praying and expressing your doubts and fears. Perhaps it is choosing gratitude, even in the small things, or simply taking a deep breath and remembering that you are not alone. The journey of faith is not about having all the answers, but about moving forward, even when the path seems uncertain. So reflect. What you are facing today may be in the future a story of overcoming growth and faith. How can you embrace this perspective and trust that in the end everything will make sense? Think about it. And remember, you are not alone. God knows, and He is with you.